All right, guys. So our final topic here is going to be our WandaVision episode 5 spoiler discussion here. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it, then come back. I'm sure everybody's seen it by now. But just right off the top, I'm going to go ahead and say that this was my favorite episode, I think. Wrong button. This was my favorite episode, I think, here. I don't know about you guys, but like I loved it. We got so many answers in this one. Said this is the greatest part about this show, in my opinion, too, is that like they do a really good job. I mean, subtract the first 3 episodes from this equation, really, but because that was like a lot of like intrigue and setup for the most part. But ever since then, they've done a great job of answering a ton of questions while setting up a ton of questions. So like you're just constantly intrigued. But like you had me with episode 4, I think, for the most part. Like you had me, but then like you caught my attention, I guess, in episode 4. Like you really had my attention, but then you got me with episode 5. Like I was like, I'm in it now. Like I was real into it. It was good stuff. And it wasn't just because of like the end scene or anything. That just opened up a lot of like possibilities.
Yeah.
And like we'll get into that here like soon. But one of the first things that I'm going to kick it off as because it happened towards the beginning of the show. And then stop me if you want to address anything else prior. But the scene where we get this like this happened with I was going to say Agatha. Agnes comes in and does her whole little bit here with the kids, right? And then she like asks Wanda if she like wants to redo it and take it from the top, like as if it was like filming,
like an actual
show.
TV show.
And like,
she treats it like she goes to pick up the kids, and Vision like does the protective dad freak out, like, "Oh, are your hands washed? You know, make sure you support their neck." Actually, you know what? Never mind. Don't do it. And Agnes treats it like
he
wasn't supposed to do that.
Yeah,
he went off script, and she was actually supposed to pick the kids up, and she breaks the scene completely. And then she asks Wanda, like, "Do you want to just take it from the top?"
Yeah, and that it goes back to with that scene. What was it, like episodes 3 or 4? Whichever one where Herb was cutting through the wall. I think it was 3.
I think that was 3.
Yeah. And I like in that
3.
scene there where Vision's like outside and Herb wants to tell him something, but then she looks to him like, no. I said it for sure from then on that like she's on the uppity up in some way. Like she knows what's going on.
But how?
Exactly. That's the thing at this point now, because obviously people think like Agatha Harkness and all that, and like I don't. That doesn't really seem to fit, and like, and all that. I don't. It depends on what they do with the character. Yeah. If it were to be this Agatha Harkness thing, I don't know.
Yeah, she goes through some weird. Even in this scene here, like when he says no, she like visibly her whole demeanor changes. I understand like an actor being taken out of the scene and like do you want to? But her whole demeanor changes, and it's like she gets scared. And then when they do go back into the scene, when they get over this uncomfortable moment where she's questioning if they need to restart, she's right back into her sitcom character mode. Yeah. And there's very little. It's like it's done just like that. It's in the blink of an eye. She switches from the scared, concerned, trapped person in that universe to the sitcom character. And I'm curious if it's not if it is Wanda's spell that's causing all this, if it isn't Wanda's spell wearing off for that moment and then kicking back in, or if it is her with a constant. I felt like if she was constantly aware that this was all being done by Wanda, it wouldn't happen as quickly as it does. But again, that's my own reading of it. I could be completely off. It gave me a different feel, but it could be that she is aware and she's just turning it off and on to stay on Wanda's good side.
I got the idea that she was aware just from that scene with the cutting through the wall and everything like that. Like, obviously, she knows something that Vision doesn't.
Yeah.
And
true.
I don't know. I mean,
well, that's the thing. Like with I think it was in this episode when Vision goes to work to his coworker, right?
Yeah,
he turns him off. Yeah.
Every character they've shown, and then like back in episode 2 when Dottie the radio scene happens, and then Dottie's holding the glass, and then like once, because I said like way back when Wanda breaks character, the people she's around seem to break character as well, as if she had a spell going on, but when she's like drops the act and goes out of character, so do the people around her, so she like loses like hold on the spell, right?
Yeah.
And then when like, and that kind of goes to like that supported that with like Dottie kind of breaking out and saying like, who are you, you know, whatever, when Wanda breaks character there. But the thing that's like weird, or I guess it has more implications now and kind of takes it another way, was Agnes in this scene, because like everyone else seemed to be under Wanda's spell, like in some way. I'm just calling it a spell. Because
Hex.
like, yeah, the hex, right?
Hex.
Because when Vision undoes the thing from Dude, he's like completely not in control.
No, he's
Like
terrified.
at all. He's not aware. Like he's subconsciously aware that it's happening, but like Agnes is indicating that she is completely not under any sort of spell. Like she's just acting.
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
what this implied to me, which could go one of two ways, really. If anything, this episode makes, at least in the way I interpret it, kind of goes to show that Wanda isn't actually 100% in control of all of this. Maybe there actually is something else in play here.
Yeah.
And another thing that kind of lent itself to that belief is like when Rambo gets thrown through the wall and comes out of the bubble of the hex, she immediately says like, it's all Wanda. And that was like episode 4.
Yeah.
A little bit early to reveal what's actually going on, in my opinion. So I think that was actually a misdirect. Because like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? In like a lot of ways. Like, why would you just reveal that right away? Like, so it's
Well,
almost like immediately implies there's something else, if you
Yeah.
want to look at it that way.
Well, and it could be that Wanda is the one in control of everything, but that Wanda herself is being manipulated too. So
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
it could be not, you know, it could be Rambo could be exactly correct that it is Wanda, that it's her powers that are causing all this, but that it's somebody else. There's some other influence affecting Wanda that we're not aware of yet.
I had another theory too, that if it's not someone else, because obviously a lot of people think that like there's someone else manipulating Wanda, but I had a theory too that like, because in this episode towards the end, when her and Vision have that little spat, and she's like lying to Vision about a lot of this stuff, and then like she says at one point like, I don't even know how this started, or something along those
Yeah.
lines, and but then she was also saying that like she was very contradictory to herself, because she says that like she's in complete control, she knows what she's doing, but then she says like, I don't even know how this started, and all these things. So what something that just like popped in my head with it is like, maybe like, okay, this put tinfoil hat time, because I have a couple theories here with this. Like, we know in the comics that she can like manipulate reality, and we know in the movies that she was able to make you see things, like, you know, like put the little things in people's heads and stuff, made Tony see stuff, made everybody see stuff. So I had a theory that perhaps to deal with her grief, Wanda was using her powers on herself, making her see things that like made her not think about
Yeah.
the stuff in her life, right? Because she can do that in the movies. So I thought, well, maybe she just started doing that to herself, and then maybe it put her in like almost like a catatonic state, to where maybe it like, because she was in there, she has lost grip on reality altogether and doesn't know, like, use the power on, kind of like people who like get like substance abuse addictions and things like that. They just start to lose a grip on reality.
Yeah.
And like, so she keeps going into this state to where she's seeing all this like stuff, this fake stuff that she's making her see, but like maybe while she was in this weird state, her powers essentially evolved, and like, so she doesn't even know that she was actually manipulating reality. Like maybe she thinks she's just doing this to herself,
Yeah.
and is not even aware that all this stuff around her is actually happening. You know what I mean? Because she seems to like be going in and out of it a lot. And what?
I think that's, I've kind of been leaning into a split personality type situation though too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very similar.
Even similar, but because there are moments where she looks genuinely confused and befuddled about what is going on. Like when
With
the
the
guy started
drone?
choking at dinner before she had Vision remove the food from his throat. And even in this scene that we were talking about where Agnes breaks character, Wanda kind of is thrown for a loop. Like, what do you mean? Do you want me to take it from the top and stuff? So,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I feel like that's entirely possible that she is, she's got maybe there's, but then she comes out of the bubble and she confronts the shield officer and she very fully like looks like she knows what's going on, and she gives them an ultimatum about like, look, this is my deal, leave me the hell alone, you
That's
know.
exactly what I thought.
Yeah,
Like,
and
she definitely has an idea of what's
full
happening.
accent too.
Yeah, yeah.
The Sokovian accent came back.
Sokovian accent comes back. So
It's like
so
yeah.
I think there could be different personas inside of Wanda. They're both fighting. They're fighting for control, or at least, you know,
Yeah.
one has the reins and one doesn't.
Right. And that's the thing too, like another thing that I thought of that would kind of go hand in hand with the Agatha Harkness thing, if people want to like go with that. Maybe this Agnes character really is Agatha Harkness, okay? Maybe and like if they could even say she was a witch. Like I don't really like this one as much, but this is another one I kind of thought of, like just to kind of like bleed into the Agatha Harkness thing that everybody wants to go with. Maybe she is Agatha Harkness, and she helped Wanda like hone her abilities to actually perform the more witchcrafty stuff, like you're actually seeing happen. Because like in the movies, she could never really do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But, like,
that would
maybe-
explain why she's there, like almost like supervising.
Yeah,
everything that's
exactly.
going
So
on.
she's like helping her along and doing this, like to help Wanda hone her abilities, and like maybe that's what it started out with, and maybe it's just kind of like lost control to begin with. Like Wanda has just kind of lost control. I kind of like the idea of maybe she was just using it on herself, and because she was doing that, her powers just kind of unwittingly have evolved, you know, and like she's not even like necessarily fully aware of like everything that's happening, because like the split personality
Well,
thing kind of takes hold.
it could also be like I'm gonna go really tinfoil hat on this one, but if she is using the power, if she did start using the powers on herself to give herself some reprieve from all the loss and sorrow that she was feeling, it could be that when she put herself into this other state to try and deal with that, she also in a unwitting way removed the barriers that kept her from accessing how it could be that her powers have always been this strong, and she just mentally had put up barriers to keep not only herself but other people safe from the full extent of her powers. But then when she put herself into this other state to deal with her sorrow, she took those barriers down, and now, unbeknownst to her, is accessing the full potential of her powers.
Yeah, or just wasn't even aware of it, and just because she's in this state has like, you know, like Legion. He can just do like, he can pretty much take anybody's power, right? He creates a multiple personality, now he can do it. Maybe like when she starts doing this on herself, her powers just evolved, and she just like she can do these things. Like she's always been able to, but was never able to do it before, and now she can. And like
she knows how.
it's just
now,
kind of
yeah.
happening, yeah. Like, I don't know. It could be a lot of things. But then another thing that was weird about the Agnes character, obviously, here is like, and the kids, they went from like 1 to, or not even 1, they went from like a day to 5 to 10, and Agnes didn't blink an eye.
No.
Like, and
She
then,
even said, she's just like, oh, you know, growing kids. Like,
yeah. And then like later, with like the dog thing happens, she, like Wanda uses her powers right in front of Agnes. She doesn't quote unquote see it, but the kids grew up again, right after that.
Yeah.
Like right in front of her to be 10. Didn't care.
To be fair, you know, the house and the furniture and the setting have all been changing
true,
as
too.
it's been going along, and none of the other people have seemed, for lack of a better way, aware of the settings changing dramatically in
Baby
between
Vision.
episodes.
What did you think of Baby Vision, though?
I thought that was funny.
I thought this was great.
That's
Dude.
adorable.
People were saying that it was creepy. I'm like, dude, it's cute as hell. What are you talking about? Like, look at this thing. It looks so good. I just want to get a nice shot of it, man. I think you get a good shot of this. Because like, and then like I saw someone saying like, all right, now who's cuter, Baby Groot, Grogu, or Baby Yoda, or Baby Vision? Like,
Grogu, hands down.
it's obviously Grogu,
yeah.
100%. You can't beat Grogu, but this is not creepy at all. Like, come on, people, it's not creepy. It's cute. It's adorable. Like,
Yeah.
and then I thought it was super funny though. I gotta say, like when he's the teenager and he's just like with his hair. Oh my god, that was ridiculous. No, that's
I'm curious. I'm curious if there's anything on that blackboard. Like, A, if the math is all correct on that, but B, if there's any kind of hint or anything in the math that's on that. I'm waiting for somebody on Reddit to decipher all that and let us know if there's anything that gives any clues to what's going on.
Well,
there.
this says V to the third power, so maybe we have three visions.
Three
we have
visions.
a live vision, we have the WandaVision, and then dead vision.
There you go.
Mind blown. Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, and then we have what else? Oh yeah, then so we have Monica Rambeau here. Everyone's freaking out about this astro engineer or aerospace engineer, and yet she was gonna call, and she knows one to go make this little car for her to get back in there, right? Who people are speculating that it would be. Everyone wants to say it's Reed Richards, okay? But the showrunner said that the Fantastic Four is not in this. Now, that's exactly what somebody who knew the Fantastic Four was in it would say. But at the same time, I don't really have any reason to doubt that. And why would you bring in Reed Richards just to bring him in for this?
Yeah.
Right. This is not the place you introduce them. And that's not the way you introduce.
Yeah, it's pointless.
Fantastic Four, yeah.
It's completely pointless. Now, and the fact that they said engineer, I mean, the only engineer we actually know is Scott Lang that we've been introduced to.
It's true.
It's like technical engineer, like not an aerospace engineer technically, but
I hate to I mean, it's an out there thing, but what about the kid that Tony Stark gave the suit to or gave the new equipment to in Iron Man 2 that's for some reason came back at the end of Endgame?
Yeah, that could be.
I mean, that random kid shows up, like he's the only one that randomly shows up at the funeral at the end of Endgame. Like, are they going to try and weave him back in there? Could he be the Tony Stark tech side or the creator side of Tony Stark for the MCU going forward?
It could. They could. I mean, that'd be somebody they could bring back, and it's Easter eggy enough. Like, that's something.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, I just don't know who else it would be. And like, again, not a way to introduce Fantastic Four. So I don't really that's not.
I don't know how Monica would know him though. So that's a
because
they have a connection that
they played that scene up.
But we don't know how she would know Mr. Fantastic either. So.
Yeah, but they definitely played the scene up. Like they're like she. On camera, very visibly was like smile, like, "Oh, I know an aerospace engineer who'd be up for this," and then they zoom in on her holding the phone, as if it's a big deal. If it was just a throwaway thing, they wouldn't have even told us any of that. They wouldn't even set that up. So I'm definitely expecting some sort of cameo, or it's gonna be even if it's not a pre-existing person. Like, I'm expecting whoever they call in for that to have a name, right? Someone we know. Like, I would guess.
Yeah.
And then, like, this scene, too, was pretty funny with this guy. I can't remember his name. Hayward? Something? I don't know. Douchey McDouche.
Yeah, he's
pretty much. At the same time, though, I will say, with the whole scene where he, like, has the drone, he's not completely unfounded. Like there is logic behind it. Like it's like Wanda is holding almost 4,000 people hostage. She literally did used to work for Hydra and all this. Like he's not crazy. Like it's very realistic that he would just go ahead and do that. From a military standpoint, it's fine. Like he's not like we know
trying to neutralize the threat.
Yeah, like we know that Wanda's good, right? I mean, like that's fine, but like you can't deny that Wanda's like a little fucking crazy right now. But
oh yeah,
like you know what I mean,
to say the least.
Yeah, so not all bad. Like it makes sense what he's doing, but I like the scene because he's like, Does she have any fancy nicknames? Not a one. Like not just really insinuating that like she's never been called Scarlet Witch. We get it. Like,
Yeah.
like we get it. Then the one thing too, again, stop me if I skip over something. Things are popping into my head that I wanted to talk about here. Not the dog thing, but the thing with her Kevlar. So we find out, I think it was like shortly after this, 'cause this is the aerospace engineer scene and everything. Her suit, though, we find out that once you go into the hex, the stuff that's on you is converted to fit the time period. Like, that was confirmed. That's why the drone goes in and then it looks a different way. And that's why the beekeeper went in and then it looked a different way. And like, it was it wasn't a beekeeper to start with. The only thing I still don't understand about that is the actual bees.
Yeah, that's what
Why
I'm
are they
saying.
there? And then the only thing I could think of was the fact that he had like a radio on, so it was like radio chatter, and his ear was like a buzzing bee, and it's just like a visual metaphor for radio chatter, like buzzing, things buzzing.
I
don't
think
know.
the bees. I honestly, I think the bees were just they were to fit the why if there's a beekeeper coming up out of the ground, a beekeeper would have bees around him. I think that was just to
But he wasn't
go
holding
with.
a honey tray that bees would be on. He just comes out with bees
Bees
around
don't
him.
need honey.
No, but that's when a
Maybe-
beekeeper would have
maybe he-
bees with
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Like if he's going
Like a
to
piece
their
of
nest
hive.
to get-
I understand, but it just adds more. I don't think there's anything more to it. Like it's not. There's not going to be a reveal later on that the bees were some other thing, that they were like little.
No.
Oh yeah, I
drones or
don't think that
something.
either.
I think the bees legit were just there to
A visual
to-
representation.
to explain why the guy's in a beekeeper. He's in a beekeeper suit because there's a bee there. Of course, that makes sense. If they're bees, you're gonna have a beekeeper suit on.
Yeah. I just don't
I think it was-
logically think it makes sense for that. Like he goes through in a regular suit. What turned into the bees? Because we're being told by the
Yeah.
show that what you're wearing turns into something to
Part
fit
of
the time
part
period.
of it. Yeah, I think this is a very
good point.
important scene because it says that Wanda is not. If it's Wanda that is transforming all this stuff, and we see her in some of the preview episodes, and we've seen her in this show transform things into other things. But I think it's taking what's the law of there's some cosmic law where matter can't be energy
Created or
can't be
destroyed.
destroyed or created.
Yeah.
And so I think it's basically going with that theory that Wanda can't actually just create things out of nothing, but she can tweak things and make things into something else.
Manipulate it, yeah.
So like for his bee suit, maybe some of the radio equipment he had on that he was using to communicate with Sword got converted into the bees, and his suit is what got converted into. I mean, that's my explanation for it. I'm not really that worried. Like that he would need some kind of like organic matter on him to be changed into the bees. That was just because Wanda even herself, like, it doesn't make sense. Why is a beekeeper coming up out of the sewer? That makes no sense either.
Yeah.
At
So
night, yeah.
knew the whole thing was too far off and completely rewound the scene to cut it all out because she knew it just didn't fit within what was going on. So, but I do think this scene is important because of that idea that she can't actually create new things, but she can manipulate things that exist or that are
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what the whole Kevlar thing, like that's what they even come to the conclusion of. Like she's manipulating reality, right? She's it's like transmog if you play games. Like you have your armor that looks like it is, but you can make it look like something else,
Yeah.
Transmog. And
Yep.
as opposed to creating life, like, they even say when the dog thing dies, she's like, well, I can't just like heal people or bring people back from the dead or whatever.
Yeah.
Which brings us to Dead Vision and some a segue to it. That kind of implies that when she broke out to get Vision, this Vision that we have now obviously isn't just the reanimated corpse of Vision, because in that scene he's in a bunch of different pieces. Which honestly begs the question too: is how'd they get him in these different pieces? Because he's vibranium. So how did he even get shredded?
I mean, Captain America's shield is vibranium. They were able to sculpt it into a shield and stuff. So, I mean, they have ways
Yes.
of working with vibranium.
Yeah.
I guess.
So I mean that's not. I mean, King T'Challa let him borrow the technology to
Yeah,
work
either
on
way.
it.
But what it implied was that so she took the pieces of Vision, and now this new Vision is literally a new Vision in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. The only thing that still doesn't make a whole lot of sense is him having his powers, because he doesn't have the Mind Stone,
Yeah.
but he still has the powers of the Mind Stone. Like, he can still do everything he could do before, for the most part. Like, we haven't seen him not be able to do something that he couldn't do before. He can still phase. He can do the thing with, like, touching people's heads and doing their thing. Now, granted, yes, Wanda's powers were also given to her from the Mind Stone, so maybe he's got his powers because she did this in some way, but her powers are vastly different than his powers that he had with the Mind Stone itself. So that's still a question mark to me, in my opinion. I'm sure maybe we'll get it explained. Maybe we'll know as soon as he does break out of the wall. Maybe we'll see him just fall into all the pieces again.
Yeah.
That'd
be weird.
Like, I mean, that would make sense. Actually, it wouldn't make sense because her clothes did not go back.
No.
That's what that
when
scene
she came
proved.
out, she was still wearing them.
Yeah, like her scene proved that this whole scene dictates that whatever changes in there is permanent. Like, it does happen.
Unless Wanda changes it back.
If she
the hex that Wanda has put on that area, the area of effect on these items exists outside of it. I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, that's what it should, because her suit changed and her suit remained the same when she came out. So, like everything that's happening within there doesn't become undone once you leave.
Yeah.
So that just goes back to, like you said, like, if matter can't be created or destroyed, right? Then Wanda might not even be able to revert this.
Yeah.
Especially if she's not even the one fully in control. Like, if there is someone else pulling the strings, or if it's her alternate personalities doing it, like whatever, it might not be something that can physically be undone to begin with.
Yeah.
Is it the law of conservation? Is that the one I'm thinking? Is that right? Do you know?
That sounds
conservation of energy or something.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Okay.
I can't remember. I know the phrase that matter can't be created or destroyed. Energy can only be converted or something.
Yeah.
Like, but
clearly we're not physicists, so
no.
If you know in the comments, please fill us in. If you can explain
it's a conservation of energy,
more concise way. Yeah, I'd love to know if we're correct on that. How we're butchering it.
So we got
this.
No, go on.
That guy. So Vision gets the peek
who
into
sent
the
that
fact
email,
that,
by the way.
Even though he knows things are off, he didn't know the extent that things were off, the extent to which things were off, and he knows now that people are being hurt by what's going on.
And he even says too, like, why can't I remember anything before Westview? And it's like, well, dude, you didn't exist before then.
This is true.
Like, because he's not the same Vision he was before. He's this new Vision that she created.
Yeah.
Like, or at least
we do know his physical body though is the corpse. I mean, we saw the corpse walking around in the one episode. We saw him.
I don't think so.
Maybe that was just.
Unless that was just
like,
you think that was just her remembering him with the hole in his head?
I think it's her remembering that, like, Vision died. And because every movie has done that before, like any horror movie, like, it cuts to Rick here and then like this, right? But then it cuts back to me, just like, you know what I mean, that kind of thing, and then it cuts back to whoever. Like, I think that's really all that was.
Yeah,
because again, her clothes, she was wearing Kevlar, and then it turned into 70s clothes, and then she leaves and it's still 70s clothes. She has all the pieces of Vision, goes in there, and now we have Vision. So presumably speaking, like, this is how he really looks now.
And Vision could, in theory, if that's correct, he could leave and still be...
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing is going to happen. Everyone's expecting him to just fall to pieces and stuff, but like, the show is kind of proven that's not what's going to happen. Like, her suit didn't go back to a Kevlar vest. It stayed the clothes that was on.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. So I definitely don't think it was before this episode. I thought she was just reanimating his corpse. Like, and she kind of is in some way, I guess, because she had the corpse and now it's this. So, but it's not like literally a puppeteering of a. I didn't really think it was that. I
No,
think
I
she
mean,
just
it's
like
Vision.
fed energy into his dead corpse. You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
kind of what she did.
I'm sure they'll
But-
explain that at some point. But
Yeah, I mean for sure. But then but the email thing though too, it's like kind of weird that she just got he just got this random email that was just like an intel memo from Sword. Like I don't know.
that was kind of strange.
I don't know why like he would have received it, who sent it, because it was
Well,
addressed to Darcy.
I'm assuming that was just
Darcy.
intercepted unintentionally on, like, whatever Wanda's doing is still picking up stuff from the outside world, just like the radio signal went into the bubble from when Darcy and Agent John, Agent Wu
Jimmy
tried to
Woo.
contact her.
Oh, another thing. Speaking of agents, though, and the beekeeper, what happened to the beekeeper guy?
Yeah, seriously.
But we don't know yet. I don't know if we will know. I mean, it could be
He's
it
just
could be as
gone.
simple as, well, I can't remember if I feel like maybe they brought him up.
Maybe he
Did they
just went
talk
back to
about
where
him
he came
before?
from
But
originally.
I feel like it's as simple as just, I mean, in my head, if that never gets brought back up, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, because I feel like we
He's a
saw
human
what
being.
happened. No, we saw what
probably-
happened with a major character, Rambo, when Wanda decided she shouldn't be there anymore. She expelled her from the area. So in my head, she expelled the beekeeper. The beekeeper, when she rewound everything, the beekeeper went back down that sewer and back out the way
That's
he
exactly
came
what I was
through the
gonna say.
tunnel, and was just forcibly pulled, just as Monica was forcibly thrown out. And I mean, it's as simple as that in my head.
No, it's not, because you
he's-
remember Agent Douchey Douche said that we now have first-hand account of someone who's came from inside the bubble thing. Franklin went in there too. They gave him a name, Agent Franklin. The only first-hand account they have is from Monica Rambeau being forcibly expunged. That happened after Agent Franklin got node.
But
Yeah.
isn't it possible
No
that Agent
beekeeper.
Franklin doesn't have firsthand experience, because all he did was climb up a ladder? I mean, he climbed up a ladder out of a sewer hole. That's not. I mean,
But
yes,
they would have gotten
technically
his
it's firsthand
clothes
experience,
and be
but
able
he
to test his clothes and like all these things.
maybe they're doing that. Maybe we're just not. I mean,
Maybe,
I-
maybe.
Happening
I
off
feel
screen.
like that was such a small, insignificant part of the show. Like, that was just showing us that when it was when it first happened, it was to create the intrigue of who's this weird guy that's coming up out of the sewer. So that was,
Yeah, it
when
was a
happened
misdirect first.
in
Yeah.
the episode. It was done for intrigue. And then when they actually showed what happened, they obviously had to explain why the beekeeper was in there. And then we know what happened with Monica. Monica got thrown back out of the area. So, and Vision or Wanda clearly said no, and things rewound. So maybe her powers just rewound him back to her. I don't know. I'm not, again, if it bothers you, I hope you get a resolution to it. I don't think I have my doubts that we will.
Well, you know who
Franklin's
else,
okay. In my
you know
in my
who
world,
else is named
Franklin's okay.
Franklin? Franklin Richards. All right. Maybe
Okay.
it's Reed Richards. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you were just
No, I don't think Fantastic Four has anything to do with this. I've just heard people say that before, and it's like, his name's Franklin. He's not the turtle from Nickelodeon just because his name's Franklin, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, it's not.
that was a
what
good
it-
show.
Yeah.
And good books.
Damn, what else was I going to say? There was something else too I just thought of. And then there's this isn't it, but it's reminding me of it. Like when she's sitting down talking on the couch to her kids, very much like this. It might be this scene, but I think it's later, talking about her brother. Just want to note, in case I forget, when she was talking to Rambo after giving birth to the kids, she explicitly does say, I had a brother, or I was a twin, referring to Pietro in the past tense. When she's talking to her kids here, they ask her if she has a brother, and she just says, yes, I have a brother, in the present tense.
Yeah, not had.
Yeah, not had. And then shortly after that, we get the knock on the door. But I'll wait on the knock on the door.
Maybe she was just explaining that to the kids, though, so she didn't.
Well, no, she says, I have a brother. He's just far away.
Oh yeah. Well, she's probably just saying that to not bring up the fact that he's dead.
Yeah, to not have to explain to them that
Yeah.
he's dead.
I
But
mean,
the
they're
kids,
kids.
I
they
could
understand death, though.
Do they?
The dog
well,
just
sure,
died.
but
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's the whole point.
maybe that was
Like,
set up for that exact reason.
no, the dog has not died at that point because this happens in this scene. The two kids are fighting about God, I can't remember what they're fighting about, and she says, you know, just because your brother does this doesn't mean he doesn't. Oh no, the mom and dad. Is it the mom? Is it Wanda and Vision they were fighting? And she's trying to explain why they're fighting to the kids, and she said, "It doesn't mean your brother doesn't love you anymore." And that's when she brings up her brother, and she
something like
says he's
that.
very far away. Yeah, I watched this the second time, but she says he's really far away. I don't. I think it's just her avoiding having to tell the kids about their uncle and how he died
Yeah.
because
that's what I think.
because she clearly doesn't want to confront that. She doesn't. This is
I'll need
her
to watch it
escaping
again.
that.
I'll need to watch it again because I thought there was an implication that this kind of didn't make sense as to why she would be hiding. Because that was my initial thought of it. Like, was just like, yeah, maybe she just doesn't want to say that he's dead. But then, like, well, maybe it's just that, like, if you were hiding, but then the dog dies, so it's just weird writing. Because it's like, okay, why would you have the dog die right after that then? If you're trying to go, like, I'm talking about like writing the show, like,
Yeah.
obviously, because I mean, you got to think too. If Wanda's controlling the show too, it's like then it's even more kind of stupid as far as writing goes because it's like you're letting the dog die, but you didn't want to say that Pietro was dead to him. So like,
But the dog has
story
no
of dead
emotional.
person or no, they care about the dog because they have the dog.
No, I didn't get to finish. The dog has no the dog has no emotional connection to Wanda. Besides, you know, the kids are much more attached to the dog than Wanda is. Wanda actually is trying to get rid of the dog at first. Wanda doesn't know where the dog came from. Wanda, I think, is actually scared of the dog. Wanda, because she seems to have an idea of like what should be there and what shouldn't, and she seems to not know where the dog came from. And so I think that I think her not wanting to talk about her brother is simply her not this whole world is for her to feel safe and secure, and her brother obviously
Yes.
isn't a safe and secure topic. And so it's just her avoidance of that topic. And then
I
the dog
agree.
is, you know, from a writing standpoint, the dog is just the death of the dog to explain how she's, you know, to give that exposition that she can't bring things back from the dead, which further creates the mystery around what's going on with Vision.
Possibly, I don't know. It's
It's
just
funny. This
it's
show is
interesting given what happens later in the episode, though.
this show is so like it's so perfect to me. But it's also fascinating to me for how many people like you seem to have a lot of questions about what's going on. Like I'm I come away with the episodes besides the obvious questions that they want you to have, like who's that person at the door and like what's going on, like the things about the beekeeper and stuff, like that completely pass over for me. I don't it's being interpreted so many different ways by so many different people. All the talk online is all over the place. People have so many different speculations. Some people I just absolutely still hate the show. It's just a fascinating show for me. It's so
No,
far
I think it's a
Now,
great show.
outside of what the actual show is, like the reception of it and the way people view it and experience it is so wildly different. It's really fascinating to me.
And that's the thing too, and I brought up before on I think on stream Friday that like what if even the stuff on the outside world is part of the show? Like we have the sitcom stuff, but then we have the outside world stuff. But like, what if even that stuff is actually a part of the show, and it's like happening? It's all being controlled. Like it's like the outside
Yeah.
world stuff is being like it's fabricated for Wanda, either to further harm her because she is being held in this state against her will. You know what I mean? Like, as if it is like
Mhm.
a Mephisto or some sort of outside source or anything, like if Wanda is trying to live all happy, good, and stuff, then they would want to throw in this outside stuff to mess with her. So what if it's even all fake? You know what I mean? This is I don't know. Like that's another thing. Like I don't necessarily think so. I think this stuff is happening in real time, and the stuff inside it is. It's like really meta if you go that far. I could see him doing it, but I don't think that's what's happening. I also don't think that, like, I love this scene, by the way. This was good. This was like I don't know, probably the best scene so far. Like her just coming out here and just like whipping it out and throwing it down on the table and just like, this is my house.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't y'all leave. Like, I'm in
Yeah.
control here and you all just back up, dude. This was good stuff. People
Yeah,
were
what
trying to say that there was like a
power of control you think you have, you don't.
yeah, like nah, like you're there's
I'm an
one
Avenger,
person.
for
Yeah, there's
God's sake.
one Avenger here, all right? Like people were trying to say too that there's like a face in this. I don't think
That's what I was going to
that's-
ask you about. Like they held on this red effect that happens on the barrier for quite a while. And I was curious I didn't personally see anything, but I was curious if you guys picked anything.
I didn't
up.
see.
is this it?
I think that's just kind of like grasping
looks
for
just like-
straws at that point. It just looks
Like eyes right here?
Yeah.
I was literally about to say like I didn't see it, but then I paused it and saw this. And I could kind of see a face here.
Sure,
Like
and
literally
the-
like
the-
cheekbones, nose, cheekbone, eye.
and then it's
Wow.
mirrored on the other
Eyebrow.
side. If you take the dark area on the other side of it and the red is the iris or the middle. So yeah, right where your cursor is, just circle around that dark area right there. That's the eye, and the red spot in the middle is the iris of the other side of the face.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Maybe it could very well just be like patterns, you know, like those pictures where like you see like things in it. I don't know, because like you could also say, look, Wanda has wings right here.
yeah.
Like yeah, it's like well, it's just how it looks. Like who knows? I don't know. Maybe I don't. It did kind of look like it there though. Like when it was flashing there even more, it really did actually kind of look like it. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep pausing, see if we get it. There's nothing there.
It definitely was interesting that they held
Kind
on
of there.
this image for such a long time. It didn't just go away like as soon as she walked in. Don't they even give a wider shot after this? Where after Monica's reaction, they go back to it, and there Monica's looking, and it starts expanding.
I just think it's seeing things that aren't actually there. I don't think there's any purpose behind it or anything.
It's just like a distortion in the field.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
I'm looking. I'm going through it one more time. This almost looks like a mouth. But I'm also looking for a face right now.
that's what I'm saying. It's just
Like like you know, I think that's really what it is. Like I don't know though. Here's a very wide shot. The other question is too is like why did it turn red though? Because her powers are red, but wouldn't it have already been red at that point? Like, and it didn't turn red when she came out of it.
Yeah.
So
I
why
think
make it
we're
turn
over-
red now?
I think we're
Grasping at
faces.
straws.
Yeah, just at this point it's just I just think it was an effect personally. I mean,
I do too, but there has to be a reason for them to make it turn red though. Maybe she just put like a reinforcement spell on it.
yeah.
Like made
Maybe
it harder
red
to
is-
get into.
Maybe red is just an indication that she's mad. I mean, red is, used as an angry indication sometimes. So maybe she's. This commercial is hilarious.
This was a
Yeah.
great commercial, dude. I thought it was
Dads
funny.
can use it too.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Oh boy. Do you think that old Agnes killed this dog? By the way, like she killed the dog, right?
I didn't really get that idea from watching it, but maybe if I watched it again.
And the dog was fine until.
But it was eating azalea bushes, which are poisonous to dogs.
Yeah, she may have.
I think she killed the dog.
Clearly, Wanda, the dog was an unknown entity to Wanda, and so maybe Wanda had her kill the dog or manipulated the situation, or whoever's controlling Wanda manipulated the situation. Assuming there is somebody controlling, we don't know that's
Dude,
happening,
I
but-
just had another theory. What if Agnes really is like Agatha Harkness or something like that, but maybe the spell literally isn't working on her, so she's messing with Wanda. She brought the dog in. she's acting like she's under her spell, but
Yeah.
isn't, and that's why she like in order to mess with her, she does the whole. You want me to take it from the top because she knows if something if something happens that she doesn't like, she rewinds it. So maybe she's just like just literally messing with her, throwing her off balance.
I really hope this is not Agatha Harkness. Just one, because so
Not
many
as the
people,
bad guy, but just
so
messing
many.
with her.
Well, no, I'm just saying in general, just because so many people have so adamant that that's who it is, and like
Yeah.
that's definitely what's going on. But also just because then it kind of just feels it's going to be like, oh, well, okay, that's all it was. It was just everybody had it pegged from the character introduction. It's Agatha Harkness, and she's being mean to Wanda, or she's her villain. I think the other problem too is we have no backstory on this woman. If we get to the last episode and find out that it's her that's been messing with her, the emotional impact or the resonance that it has is severely blunted. Even with minor characters like Baron Zemo in Civil War, we got the backstory to him. We knew why he was going after Bucky, and we knew why he was messing with Tony and Steve, and you there was rationale and reasoning behind that. We have absolutely nothing on this character, and we're over halfway through the season or so far. So
I think
if it's revealed later on that she's the force behind it, it's going to be a little anticlimactic for me.
Rob, I think your description, or was it John? Whoever said that she's just playing along with it just to mess with her or whatever, I think that would make the most sense to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, not necessarily meaning that like she's behind it, because like she could be Agatha Harkness, and just like her being a witch would just make her less receptive to the spell, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she's just literally just messing with her. Mm-hmm. I think it's just like to literally fuck with you, like not because she's the mastermind bad guy behind. I don't think that's it at all.
No,
like she just hasn't played. It'd be a really anticlimactic villain to be like, I'm gonna play along in your sitcom world, just because. No real end game. Just thought it'd be fun.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. I don't know, but if she can just resist the spell and just like having fun messing with her, like just for kind of no reason, she's there. Like I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but maybe she is. I don't know. Rick, you said you got to go here soon, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's my mom's birthday, and
no, you're fine.
Having people like call me while I'm sitting here.
That's good. Do you just want to bounce now and we can finish, or do you want to give your thoughts on what you think about the little reveal at the end here?
Yeah, I don't have to like leave this very second.
Well, what do you think about this? Because we get this. This is we're pretty much at the end of it anyway. So unless John has anything else to add, we can just get into the whole Evan Peters reveal here.
I don't know. Like, it's hard to say. It was surprising to me, but
did you know who it was, Rick? When she opened the door, did you make
when I saw the hair?
Did you make the connection to the X-Men movies? Had you seen those? Do you know?
Yeah, and when I saw the hair, but like, what is it? Aaron Taylor Johnson, the guy who plays him in like the Avengers and all that sort of stuff. That was my only thing. Is it's like, why is it Evan Peters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that was confusing to me. And
I have a coworker that I talked about with it, and she didn't know who it was. And I had to explain why it was significant that he was there. And I'm curious how many people. Obviously, you would think most people do, but because the Fox movies were so separate from the MCU, I'm wondering
not a lot of people watched them.
Multiverse of Madness, though.
They were on a decline. The X-Men franchise was on a decline financially and everything. Like, they weren't very popular when his character was in it. And that's a weird thing, too, because a lot of people think that this is like Mephisto or somebody impersonating this, like Pietro. And it's like, I get that. Like I part of me doesn't think it really is Pietro from the X-Men franchise, but my whole thing is if it's someone trying to mess with Wanda, why would he appear as Evan Peters Quicksilver and not Aaron Taylor Johnson Quicksilver?
That was my question.
She has no idea who this is, and you can tell at first she's just like, Pietro? Like, she doesn't even know who it is.
I want you to send me a list of where you're getting these theories from, because I want to avoid them at all costs, because they don't sound very well thought out.
No, they don't. Like, it's just like stuff I just see and hear like online, like other videos, and I'm just like, dude, none of that makes sense though. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to bring in the X-Men characters either, which is why, like, I don't know if it is. Like, There was the audio. Don't get at me in the comments about the audio descriptor thing that says Wanda stares at Evan Peters, Quicksilver character from the Fox X-Men franchise. I
That's
know
very
it's there.
descriptive.
Yeah, it's literally a descriptor so that a visually impaired person could know what we're supposed to be seeing. Because when you see it, that's what you think in your head. So they have to be just as descriptive as you would if you could see
They
it.
don't just say like Quicksilver shows up.
Yeah, they can't just say, well, Pietro appears. Like, cool.
And from a story and production standpoint, they hired this actor specifically because of that connection. Now,
100%.
why story-wise, why they've done it, we don't know. But it wasn't like they accidentally hired this guy and just went, "Oh, that's a coincidence. Oh, it's a happy coincidence there." So, yeah, I mean, that's why the descriptor would be there. It was done intentionally.
Yeah. 'Cause that's the other thing too. Is like, yes, like the implications of him being here are just limitless. But like, also ask yourself, like, is the WandaVision standalone TV series the way to introduce the X-Men, especially if it's this like something as big as like bringing in the Fox franchise? I don't necessarily think it really is. Granted, I still think, one, I don't think this is a Luke Skywalker level cameo in any way. So I think there's someone else for that cameo that she was talking about. Like,
I don't know, man. I tell you what, this is Disney Plus's first MCU series. I think that this is a big enough platform and a big enough thing for them to introduce the X-Men, to set the bar high for what kind of stories and what kind of production they're going to have for their Disney Plus stuff. I think if they want to really cement in people's heads that this stuff is important and this stuff is just as important as a regular MCU movie, I mean, I could definitely see them. I love the theory. If it doesn't happen, I'm trying to brace myself to be prepared for it. But I think maybe Rob, you had said it, or maybe Rick had mentioned it, where instead of no more mutants, Wanda says, "Let there be mutants," or something like that, and brings mutants into the MCU because of this series or during the series.
Yeah, essentially, this would be I said it on stream that this, instead of it's the reverse of the House of M, where she in the comics rids the world of mutants, but in the MCU's version of it, she creates them. Yeah. It is a very poetic thing, in my opinion. Thank you. That was me. I did think of that. But I just don't know. I don't know if it would be. Because there is one thing I would add to too, because a lot of people kind of like, and I think this too in a lot of ways, like, why would Kevin Feige introduce, like, why would he want the sloppy seconds to a failing franchise of Fox? Like, right?
True.
Like, these movies were on the decline. It went from like Days of Future Past made $800 million, Apocalypse made 500, Phoenix made like 200. Like,
they kept getting consistent.
It just got worse and worse and worse. Like, nobody cared. Why would he want them? I would argue that Kevin Feige got his start on the very first X-Men movie. Like, he was like on the set of that. He helped Wolverine get his look with the hair. He helped with that. I would say that in a lot of the times, like, emotional attachments and nostalgia can go against your better judgment and your better, it may not be like the best business decision to bring in these old pre-existing characters, but nostalgia is very powerful. Kevin Feige has actual emotional attachments to X-Men, maybe. So maybe he would like to see it continue on, and maybe you also get the whole, like, well, you may have failed with these characters and actors, Fox, but let me show you what I can do with the exact same things. You know what I mean? You always have that too. Like, I'm playing devil's advocate to where, like, at the same time, I could just see Kevin Feige wanting to make his own characters, right? Because it's not like he's bringing Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan back to be the Fantastic Four. Yeah. But I could totally see, like, he also had nothing to do with that movie, whereas he did work on X-Men as Kevin Feige. Like, he wasn't the big man in charge.
But not with these characters.
Well, he worked with Hugh Jackman and all that.
Yeah, but Hugh Jackman isn't coming back. He's already said he's
No.
not coming back.
But he was in Days of Future Past, who was with all these characters too. So
But
like Kevin Feige knows
wasn't,
everybody.
right?
Well, he knows everybody.
But that's
it's part of the
isn't
same
that-
universe.
Are we kind of diving into like a Kevin Bacon situation?
100%. We're
He
splitting
knows
hairs,
he knows a
man.
guy who knows a guy.
100%. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
provide some form of this, like, well, maybe it's just because he has some sort of emotional ties to the franchise itself, because it is the same franchise, whether or not he had anything to do with the Evan Peters cast of it, right? Like, but he
Yeah.
did have
I
something to do with the Hugh Jackman stuff. He worked with them all.
Are you?
Yeah.
I mean, we're discussing this to imply that possibly he's bringing the X-Men characters into the MCU.
Yeah, if it were
The
to
X-Men
happen.
characters from the Fox franchise into the
Yeah.
MCU, correct?
If like that's who
Yeah.
Evan Peters is actually supposed to be right now.
Yeah.
Like if they have him do a
Almost
slow
any-
motion
I
speed
put
running
on-
scene, like
Yeah.
like if he is actually Quicksilver, that opens up more doors. Right now it's just Evan Peters is here playing Pietro, who looks like Quicksilver from Fox's X-Men. We don't even know if that's explicitly who he is in the show. Even in the WandaVision show, he just looks like that. It could be anything. Who the hell knows? Like, because again, why would it not be Aaron Taylor Johnson? Now, I know you would say, well, because it's a multiverse. Is it? Like, nothing else has been multiverse related in this at all. Like, so, like, I don't know. Then we got Multiverse of Madness. Who knows? Like, I don't know. Do you think like this is actually Quicksilver, or do you think it's just like an illusion?
At this
No,
point,
I think
who's to
it's
say?
Quicksilver.
You think it's Quicksilver?
I think it is. I think there's going to be some huge narrative gymnastics they're going to have to do to pull off why this character, this actor is portraying this character if it's not the Fox version, if it isn't her bringing him in from another realm or something, or from another universe. If it's just random, I hate to, I mean, but it feels like a dirty trick on the audience. Like
100%.
if with no payoff, like why do that besides just to trick the audience? Like the only reason you bring him in if he's not that character is to just be like, haha, gotcha. You guys thought something was going on, but it's not. So here we're moving on to something else.
It is
So
a
I
dirty
definitely-
way of misdirecting people,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that was my main thing that I was thinking too with it, is like, why else do you bring him in to do it unless he's playing him? Because then otherwise it's like it doesn't make any sense. Like
Yeah.
even if it's not really that Quicksilver, like he has to at least be representing that Quicksilver in some way. Because otherwise, like, why do you even do it? What
This
the
is
point?
I think this is a very smart, very small yet important and simple way for them to begin explaining the idea of a multiverse to a larger audience. This clearly shows that there was a Quicksilver in the MCU who everybody that's watching this knows and saw die. And then there's a lot of people out there who know that there was a Quicksilver in the Fox universe that had nothing to do with this. And by bringing that Quicksilver over, they can start connecting people's minds. Oh, I see. There is a separate thing that's like ours, but doesn't have any interaction. And if we're going to start interacting between these two universes, this is how that plays out. I think they kind of stumbled into a very unique situation where they don't have to establish a separate universe. That universe has already been established. They can just start playing in it, or playing with it by bringing this character in.
I agree. That's why I think the Luke Skywalker level cameo was going to be Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. 100%. And I'll tell you why. There's valid tinfoil hat evidence behind this. It was about a year or so ago, year and a half ago, Patrick Stewart was asked if it was like during an interview, he spoke about having met with Kevin Feige about playing Professor Xavier again. And he said that he felt that Charles got the best ending possible in Logan, and like, doesn't know if he wants to like to do anything to tarnish that or something along those lines. That was literally during the time they would have been in pre-production for WandaVision that he had this conversation about reprising the role of Charles Xavier in the MCU by Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bit of a coincidence that he was talking to him about Charles Xavier when we have freaking Pietro from his world right there in the MCU.
I just don't know.
And that's Luke Skywalker level.
I just don't know narratively, like why does Wanda have a connection with Professor X? Like, if you went Magneto on me, I'd be more inclined because of the possible parentage.
I could see that too, but I think Charles is more. It's easier to have a bald dude in a wheelchair roll up, and like people know exactly what's going on right now. You got the X logo on the thing. I don't know, because ideally it'd be both, right? Like they both come into frame, like at the same time, side by side, friend to friend. Like that would be the most ideal situation. And although at the same time, it makes absolutely zero sense why it wouldn't be Michael Fassbender if they're going to go with the whole lineage thing, because that is 100% confirmed the Magneto dad of this Pietro.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Ian McKellen, even though they're supposed to be the same guy. Kind of. Like, I don't know. Their timeline was super wonky.
X-Men's weird.
Like, there was continuity, schmontinuity over there. Like, none of it made real sense. But I don't know. Like, literally, Michael Fassbender was the age of Michael Fassbender when he had a son that was Pietro's age. So it would make zero sense for Ian McKellen to be here, and Pietro's still this age. So I don't know. But I don't know. I guess more people will probably be more familiar with the original version of those characters. So Charles Xavier being Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen being Magneto would make more sense. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't know. We could speculate all day, but I still don't know if I'm willing to say this is him, but it makes the most sense that it is him.
Yep.
You guys have anything else you want to add? I know you got to get out of here.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're good. Are you got anything else to add, John? Or you just want to wrap it up?
Oh, I mean, I think we covered it quite a bit. I think we said most of what I thought.
Yeah, I'm super hyped about it, though. I'm curious to find out. I'm sure we're going to get a ton of more information about this stuff in episode 6, though.
I was going to say episode 6 should be interesting.
Yeah.
My only concern going forward is like they weren't able to keep Evan Peters' appearance in here a secret. Like I had heard beforehand that he was seen on set, and that was a little disappointing because it would have been a really cool and surprising thing, more so had they opened the door and I had no clue that he was going to be.
Yeah,
it would have been more of a jaw drop. And as it was, he opened the door. And I was like, oh, okay, there he is. So it didn't have quite the same impact. I'm hoping they can tighten up their security or whatever and let less reveals like that out.
Yeah, well, not even that too. Apparently the footage for this exact scene leaked like 2 weeks ago, and then I saw leaked footage of the Halloween episode. So I'm not going to say what it is I saw, but like it does have to do with this Pietro character. So like if that's real, it's nothing like crazy or major or anything. It's just more of another like kind of nod to something. So I don't know.